Jeff Russell. That's all I got.
No, his daughter.
Jeff Russell's daughter, is one of the student trainers for Canton. So I asked her at church Sunday morning, I said, now look, I'm going to be on the van sideline. If I get run over on the sideline, are you going to run all the way across the field to check on me? And she said, maybe halftime or the end of the game.
Dang.
I said,
Cold-blooded.
She should have said,
thanks a lot.
are you going to wear any green?
Okay. Okay, but you're going to do this?
No, you're going to hear it.
Oh, okay.
When I shut that down, then you can shut up. Then you can start.
Speak up.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Kale. How you think football guy? How you think for Rosso? Yeah, how you think football?
And I'll look right in there. Okay, all right. Okay.
Be quiet. Shut up.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Huddle Show, your number one source for football information in Van Zandt County. I'm David Barber, your always impartial Van Zandt News sports correspondent, joined by the counselor, Joel Elliott. Kyle Owens from KMU is with us tonight, dressed in a neutral fashion.
That's right.
Van hat, Canton shirt,
Van
shoes.
That's right.
Okay. Engineer Ken is with us tonight, and we want to welcome a special guest contributor tonight. He is all the way from Mineola, Texas, by way of KMU. You hear him live every Friday night on Friday Night Live. He is the roving reporter. He is Scott Myers.
I
Welcome.
Sure am. Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Now, you've noticed that we are missing a member of our team tonight. T.A. Hale is not with us tonight. He had prior obligations. Isn't that right, Joel?
Yes. He called his shot before the Friday night game.
He did.
Because trust me, I wanted to go to the Mavericks game today too.
And word is it that we're going to also be hearing through the miracles of modern technology, not only T.A. on the phone tonight, but a special guest that he has accompanying him this evening. But we'll tell you more about that later on.
They're wrapping up their goat breeding and septic tank cleaning service before they call in.
Yes. And we certainly hope they do take care of that before they call in. Well, let's move right along and talk about some of our Van Zandt County football teams. But first, let me tell you where we are.
Where are we, David?
We are at the Q and Brew restaurant at the Silver Spur Resort, about a half mile, 3/4 of a mile north of Interstate 20 on Highway 19. We're here every Tuesday night during the football season from 6 to 7. And if you miss our live show, the replay show is Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And Tuesday night at the Q and Brew is always $2 taco night.
That's what I'm here for.
That's right. That's right.
That's what brought me back this week.
All right, let's move on, talk about some of our Van Zandt County football teams. Joel, one of the teams that had a great night last Friday night when they needed it was the Grand Saline Indians.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A big win over Troop, and why don't you fill us in on the details?
Okay, and I'm going to start off. A couple of weeks ago, we were here, and I wasn't feeling real orange and black positive. I was just thinking maybe we can get a win before this season's over with. I was, I was kind of concerned. And then I thought, you know what, Quitman, that's our shot. And then after we worked Quitman over pretty good, I thought, well, you know what, maybe we can do something. And then I'm not going to lie, I looked at Brownsboro, and they played Troop and got beat. And I thought, well, okay, that's not a good sign. It's, division up. Grand Saline's going to have a tough time. Grand Saline came out and took care of business. It was 42-27. They worked over Troop. as far as the stats go, they had 348 yards passing, 200 rushing, 5 TDs, 548 total yards for the game. Jace Melton has really stepped up at least in the last couple of weeks with some serious senior leadership. If you remember last week, he actually had some pretty good rushing yardage also. But this week he was 16 of 23 with 4 touchdowns and a pick. He had 348 yards total through the air. Caleb Amaya, and this is kind of neat for me because I'm naming last names of the kids of people that I played with. So, I played with Raphael and Caleb. He lit it up, 25 rushes for 169 yards. Jace had 6 rushes for 26 and a touchdown. Like I said, he's been taking care of business the last couple of weeks. Brett Kendall, which is the name, even when things have gone bad, he stepped up and put up some pretty good stats, and he did it again this week. He had 6 receptions for 83 yards. But, Hudson Griffin, we've mentioned his name some in the earlier weeks. He had 6 receptions, 154 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, it was a good night, even attack with the rushing and the passing. And then Kendall was a guy that I played with his dad. Amaya was a guy I played with his dad. And then Cooper Brown, wearing the same number that his dad. And his dad, when we were in school, he was Bear. I mean, it takes me a while to remember what his real name is, but it was Bear Brown. Cooper had 10 tackles and a field goal block. And I'm not sure if this is right. It says TD on here. Did the junior Bear rush for a touchdown or something? Or
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the story is on that stat sheet.
So I'm interested to know the detail on that. This is what I like. This is the second week in a row, late at night, I've been able to text Coach Drennan and just say congratulations. And I know that, and you guys can vouch for this, being from over there in Mineola. Drennan's the real deal. He's probably a little old school for some of the newer age, but Grant Saline, in my opinion, needs to kind of go back to that old school. And I think that given the right opportunity, if he can get some of these kids to stick with it, then he can create the program. Everybody had last year with COVID, but this year I had higher hopes at the beginning. But we're sitting here. They got West Rusk coming up this week. Everybody knows West Rusk is going to be If West Rusk plays like Canton did against Brownsboro, maybe there's something going on here. But even if they don't beat West Rusk, they got ARP the last week of the season. That would be 3 wins. I'm not sure what the help would be that they would need.
Harmony needs to beat ARP today, or
this Friday.
Harmony needs to beat ARP, and then if Harmony beats ARP, then that sets up that Grand Saline ARP game for the winner goes to the 4th seed.
Okay, yeah. So, and I would think up until the last couple of weeks, I would have thought that Harmony would have taken care of business. It would surprise me if Harmony lost and Grand Saline won against ARP.
Right.
But if Harmony wins, then it wouldn't surprise me if Grand Saline does as well. So,
well, Troop beat Harmony.
Right.
And Grand Saline lost to Harmony, and Grand Saline beat Troop. So
yeah, so it's kind of a crazy round robin. The only thing that I thought earlier that Harmony and West Rusk would be
1-2.
Yeah, just a battle for first and second. But that hasn't really played out that way. So, hopefully Harmony will give us a little bit of help. Hopefully Grand Saline won't need it. If they were able to go down there and take care of business with West Rusk, then that would be awesome. But either way, I want to see the Indians in the playoffs, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
It was a great week to bleed some orange and black.
So the Cooper Brown thing, according to the East Texas Honor Roll, it was that blocked field goal that turned into a touchdown. Okay.
So,
I guess that's how they're. But listen, not to bring up some negativity here, but if Grand Saline would have just held on to that win against Winona, we wouldn't be talking about this.
That's right.
It would be talking about seeding, not are they going to make the playoffs.
Right.
So that's the only negative. But these past 2 weeks for Grand Saline have been outstanding. I mean, the Quitman game, Quitman had a lot of starters out, but you still got to put up 43. I mean, you don't just show up and have 43 on the board. And then to be able to take it to Troop like that, a Troop team that beat Harmony, who we think is a pretty good team, a Harmony team that beat Grand Saline. The thing I think with Grand Saline is I think they're finally getting healthy. I think they're finally getting a lot of players. Amaya's back.
Yes.
And I think they're getting some key players back, and they're starting to hit their stride at the perfect time.
You know, and I texted you 2 Fridays ago after the game, and I said it with an LOL, but I was like, my friends from Grant Saline say this is a healthy Grant Saline.
Yeah.
And there may be more truth to that
Yeah.
than I thought. I thought that was a little tongue-in-cheek, but it may be the truth. Grant Saline may be getting everything kind of put together at the right time. And
that first game of the year against Cooper, they had Cooper beat.
Well,
I know, but they had.
It is what it is.
On the scoreboard, it says Cooper won, but Grant Saline
Right.
had Cooper beat, and that was with a couple of players out. Not they weren't even fully healthy in the first game, and so now to have, I think, everybody back, we're seeing the true Grant Saline team that we should have seen all year long, and I'm so happy for Coach Drennan.
I am too. And Grant Saline as a whole.
Absolutely.
That's my town, and it was homecoming too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't beat a homecoming win. So.
And Scott, the phone lines were lit up on Friday Night Live after this Grant Saline victory.
They were indeed, and of course Grant Saline tried to, but didn't quite get up to knocking Van off the top spot. But they had the callers call in, and they finished a solid second on the Spirit Stick contest this past week. And I was proud of them. I was even equally proud of my Mineola Yellow Jackets finishing in the top 3 and staying in the playoff hunt in their area as well. But the phone lines, we decided to change things up a little bit by taking phone calls instead of texts as well. And that has made a major difference because, for one thing, Mama T and I, and then KO and I, were trying to jockey back and forth, trying to take as many calls as possible for many votes coming in. So all we can say is just keep calling, folks, because you have done us a great service the last couple of weeks with Friday Night Live, and I would love to see the phone lines lit up these last 2 weeks because it's coming down right to the wire seeing who's going to win the Spirit Stick overall because you got Canton, you got Quitman, both of them tied at 4 wins apiece, and then you got your Van Vandals that finally made it on the board.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Hey, anything's possible here.
Now, the Fruitvale Bobcats,
Yes.
they were off this past Friday night, and isn't it great that we're talking about a team that is 2-0 in district with meaningful football games remaining on the schedule, and big trip for the Bobcats this Friday night as they go to Union Hill. Joel, anything you want to share with us about that matchup?
I actually met with the superintendent of the Fruitvale schools, Rebecca Bain. We went to school together when we were little kids before my dad decided that I needed to go to Grant Saline where he was coaching. But I did a few years at Fruitvale and talked to her today, and she bragged on their volleyball team and everything, and she said this has probably been the most exciting with football that it's been in Fruitvale in a long time. They're expecting this year to go to the playoffs. She had mentioned there may be a chance that they may move up to 2A next year. So this would kind of be their last best shot. At least in the regular UIL, I think they have that outlaw league sometimes that teams play in. But as far as UIL goes, this may be their last best chance. They're playing in Union Hill. Union Hill's real good. Everybody in Fruitvale knows that. But this isn't, the crazy thing about 6-man ball, it can swing a whole lot of different ways in a 6-man game. But then they play Leverett's Chapel the next week. So all they have to do is win 1 of 2. And if they can pull that off, they're in the playoffs. And I don't recall how long it's been since Fruitvale's been in the playoffs. It's been
a long time.
It's been a long time. So,
yeah.
I know the Union Hill's going to be a pretty big task to overcome. But they've had they were off last week, so they should be healthy and rested. And she did say that they had a couple of seniors, and I can't remember the name. There was the 2 seniors that I talk about every week that pretty much have all their stats. They've been playing with a little bit of rust on them, and hopefully they've knocked that all off on this week off and gotten rested and ready to go. And it would be great if Fruitvale just got rid of Union Hill and they were in.
That's right.
And then it's for a gold football the next week, not a playoff spot. So. And you came in here last week with your.
I had the good juju, the good
that's
vibes.
Right, that's right. So, hopefully Fruitvale will pull the upset this week, or at least get 1 or 2 and make it to the playoffs. So they're back in that
So
that path.
Union Hill did play last week. They played on Thursday and beat Campbell. So they're 3-0 in the district. And then Fruitvale was off last week,
Right.
but they closed up with Union Hill's bye week is next week. So Union Hill traditionally is a very good six-man football team, traditionally.
Very good.
But this year, they're a little down. They're not as powerful as they have been in years past. So I said it last night. I think if Fruitvale's going to get Union Hill, this is going to be the year they get them.
And Union Hill's defensive unit this year may be leaking just a little bit because when you look at the point spread, the point differential here, points for and points against, their defense has given up 285 points. Compare that to Fruitvale. Fruitvale's defense has given up 275. Now, Union Hill has been able to get by because they've been able to outscore their opponents. But, somewhere along the way, Union Hill, if not this week or not in the play, or somewhere in the playoffs, either this week against Fruitvale or in the playoffs, they're going to find themselves in a world of hurt, just realizing we can't outscore the opponent that we're playing against. And should Fruitvale get on the hot roll, look out.
They're common opponents so far. So they both played Savoy and beat them a whole bunch to nothing. And then they played Campbell. And Fruitvale had a closer game. But, you know, when you're winning by, 20, 25 points or you're winning by 50 points, it's kind of like when you're driving a car, when you're going 85 or 100, is it really that big a difference? So
You're still speeding.
You're still speeding. So, there's really not a common opponent that you can look at. And Union Hill has lost 4 times this season. So it's not the Union Hill that I think it was last year or maybe year before when they were playing Union Hill towards the end of the season. And it was one of those kind of foregone conclusions.
Yeah.
Union Hill hadn't lost. And,
Right.
and
They
it
were
was just,
state ranked.
So
that's what I'm saying. It's a different Union Hill team.
Yeah, that's not this year. So, I'd love to see the Bobcats. Take care of it this week.
Yeah.
And just put
So you
it
don't
away.
have to worry about the last week.
Well, and I guess if they won this week, they would at least be sharing a district title.
Yeah.
So let's go Bobcats. Let's get it done.
All right. Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go into our first commercial break. And Kyle, before I turn it over to you for that, let me just mention, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show, that what I'm wearing here tonight, this hat and this windbreaker, is courtesy of Lynn Ward at Vandal Nation Station in Van, located at 125 West Main Street, downtown in Van, 903-360-6516. Lynn, thank you very much for what you have done here tonight. And Kyle, at this time, we need to recognize some more of our sponsors. I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, David, I'm going to see if I can do as good as you do, okay? We'll see what happens here. I do read a lot of sponsors in my time. So we want to thank Sensible Dentistry, because life is better with a beautiful smile. They're located at 1350 South Trades Day Boulevard in Canton. Call them at 903-567-2666. Go to sensibledentistrycanton.com. We also want to thank Dean Kubota for sponsoring tonight. They're located in Wills Point, 903-873-2451. And they have a Forney location, 972-552-3151. Go to deankubota.com. Down Home Cafe, almost world famous. And they are located at 400 West Highway 243 in Canton, 903-567-7601. Exit Realty Pro, located at 1445 South Buffalo. Am I saying that right? That sounds wrong.
No, that's right.
South Buffalo in Canton, 903-567-7777. ExitRealtyPro.com. Goods, Texaco, and Tires, located at 172 East Main in Van. Call them at 903-963-7848. And Hall Chevrolet, Fine New Roads, located in Canton, 903-567-4106. And they're also online at hallchevycanton.com. And the Tim James Agency, home, auto, business, and farm. They're at 548 West Highway 243 in Canton, 903-567-0627. And online at timjamesagency.com.
Thank you. Ooh. Good job, sir.
Well, that made me nervous.
I'm David Barber, Van Zandt News sports correspondent, joined by the counselor, Joel Elliott, Kyle Owens from KMU, Engineer Ken, our special guest contributor tonight, Scott Myers, the roving reporter from KMU, Friday Night Live. And we will be hearing later on from T.A. Hale And in about 20 minutes, I'm told, we will be hearing from TA. So in the meantime, why don't we talk some more about our Van Zandt County football teams, and I guess at this time I'll talk about the Van Vandals.
Okay.
And the Vandals had a pretty easy time with the Bullard Panthers last Friday night at Vans Memorial Stadium, racing out to a 49-0 halftime lead and winning by the final score of 56-7. Thankfully, we had a running clock in the second half, unlike Mahia the previous week.
I just want it to be known that when we did Oofy's picks last week, the running clock went into my projection.
I literally texted David at halftime and said, tell them not to run the clock. I need more points.
Yes. Look, I said we were doing our game, and our game wasn't very close either. So I was looking at it, and I was telling Jeremy, I was like, look, man, Van doesn't need to score anymore. Just run that clock.
Yeah.
Sorry, David.
That's all right. That's all right. But the Vandals finished, even with a running clock in the second half, they still put up 28 first downs, 499 yards of total offense, including 240 yards rushing and 259 yards passing. Now, let me tell you something about the passing stats. What I'm about to share with you now is the passing stats for the first half, and that was the entire game as well, because they did not even attempt throwing a pass in the second half. So how about this for first half and full game passing numbers? Jackson Rainey, the quarterback for the Vandals, 17 completions out of 26 attempts, 259 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Not a bad half.
Not bad
Not
at
a
all.
bad game.
No.
But the Vandals were just dominant throughout. Rushing yardage led by Alex Zaffer, 139 yards rushing on 11 carries and 2 touchdowns. DeMarcus Stennett, 8 carries and 39 yards. And Joel, I know you want to hear about this. KD Erskine. We had the bull formation Friday night early in the game.
Now, last week you said there's the bull and then there's also the rhino.
The rhino.
So this was the bull.
This was the bull, which means KD was in the game.
Okay.
So he lines up. He's the starting defensive tackle, lined up in the backfield. It's 3rd and goal on the 2-yard line. They hand him the ball, and he and the middle linebacker for Bullard meet right at the goal line, and it sounded like a sonic boom when they collided, and both guys fell into the end zone. Touchdown, Vandals.
That sounds a little Bo and Boz.
Yes, it did.
1990.
Bo Jackson and Brian Bosworth?
Yes.
Yes. It did remind me of that, as a matter of fact.
Did he ask the linebacker where the bus fare was?
No, none of that was going on. But
Not that you could hear.
That's right. That's right. But receiving-wise, Luka Kochev had 7 receptions, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Braden Bradshaw, 5 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. So I think people were, and Coach Moffitt discussed this today when I talked to him, people were wondering going into the Bullard game, would there be a tendency to kind of overlook Bullard considering what was ahead on the schedule after that? But he thought that his team did a really good job of focusing on the task at hand, and that they came out strong and stayed strong throughout the contest. So dominant win for the Vandals against the Bullard Panthers. I know we're going to be talking more and more about what's coming up later on. I will just say for now that Kyle, is there anything that we need to talk about so far as the Van Canton game Friday night at Norrisburgville Stadium?
Well, I do have a comment on the pass game. It seems like Braden Bradshaw had been battling injury all year.
Back injury, the second game.
Yeah, and so I think that's big for Van to not have to rely on Luka as much in the passing game. Now they do have other receivers that are capable, but
Ryder Shoquist.
Right, Ryder Shoquist, John Crow even does a good job.
Yes.
But Braden, I think, adds a different element. It reminds me of when Van had Connor Houston a few years back, and how he would kind of play that slot receiver and catch the screens and the bubbles and really be able to make things happen. So I think having Braden Bradshaw back is very big for Van, taking some pressure off of Luka, giving Jackson some more opportunities, and he's a good blocker too. So he can open up in the run game as well. So I just think that's a big thing for for Van. And as far as this Van Canton game on Friday, man, look, Van's been kind of rolling all year. They have had some close games, though. I think what this game comes down to, Canton holding on to the football, not turning it over. That's going to be key. If they start turning it over, I think Van, it's a better team than Brownsboro and will take more advantage of that than Brownsboro did. And I think Canton's offense matched up with Van's defense is going to be interesting because Canton has the ability to put up points. They're explosive on offense. And Van's defense is back and forth sometimes. Some games they look really good, and other times in games they don't look very good. Like the Lindell game comes to mind when we were there. That first half just didn't look very good for Van defensively. Now they tightened it up, but if Canton takes advantage of some maybe defensive mistakes in the early on and keeps this game close, then that's when I think it's going to get a little tight there at Norris Birdwell. But I think this is probably the game of the week in our area because I think it'll be a really good game.
Joel, I think you would agree that Canton will need to have something really good happen for them early in the game.
And I'll just say one thing that I have, and I've watched some of the Van film. I hadn't until this week. I wasn't going to look, and I'm acting like I'm a player. I wasn't looking forward to Van. I was trying not to get ahead of myself. But since last Friday night, I've watched almost all of the film that the kids have on Van. And the thing that in my opinion is different than what I expected, because at the start of the season, the quarterback, I can't believe Jackson Rainey. It was the Jackson Rainey show. Yeah. In the last few weeks, the attack, it's not just him anymore. I mean, and it's not just one running back. I mean, they're running through
DeMarcus
2 or 3.
Stennett.
I mean, there's the Zephyr kid. There's numerous running backs that are having success running the ball. And if you look at Canton, even last week, they allow a lot of passes. I mean, that's just kind of their problem. And I think last week Brownsboro had maybe 30-something yards rushing. So if the stable of running backs for Van does what they've been doing the last few weeks, it's going to cause problems for Canton. Because, if they're able to, and I say if they're able to, they didn't do it against Brownsboro as much as in my opinion, I thought they would have. But they just, even though they were stopping the run, they didn't ease up and get back and stop the pass. So I think with Van's attack, they're not going to be able to do that anyway. They're going to have to be up there, covering both. And that's not what I expected at the start of the season. I expected Jackson Rainey to come in, and if he wasn't throwing it, he would be the one running it. But Van's running attack has really kind of come on from what I've seen, and that's what surprised me the most this season.
And the last non-district game when Van played Liberty Ilo, Jackson Rainey ran the ball 25 times in that game. And I think during the bye week, Coach Moffitt said, we can't have that.
Well, and that's about when that's the change. That's up until that, I thought it was his show.
In the last 2 games in district play, Jackson Rainey has had 7 carries total in 2 games.
And they're still putting up points.
Yeah, and that's the, like I said, that's the thing that I noticed watching film from the start of the season to now. It's like I said, I kind of thought early, and I even told you this. I said Van goes the way Jackson goes.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm not saying that they don't need him. Obviously, they need him, but he's not all they got anymore. And those running backs, and again, it's not just one of them. I mean, there's a crew of them that are playing well. At least they have been the last couple of weeks. So.
And another thing, Jackson isn't having to make a lot of plays with his legs, but we know he can,
right,
which is another element that Canton's going to have to worry about. Yeah, you may have every receiver covered and plastered, but if you don't have somebody spying the quarterback, then Jackson could take off, get 6, 7, 8 yards, get a first down, and keep the chains moving. So I think what you said, Van's balanced attack is the big thing, because coming into the start of the year, we thought the run game was going to be the Achilles heel for Van,
right,
and it's turned out to be one of their strongest suits, and being able to
Van now.